Howdy, Possum Patty here, and this is my summer solstice walk about the yard, so come on along. I'm going to start here in front of the house. This is out by the road, which is nothing but a dirt lane. That's why I talk about going up the lane. And in front of this jumble of a stone wall, I have planted black-eyed Susans. And they spread quite a bit since last year, but they are not blooming yet. And down here I had a yarrow plant, but the deer came and ate the tops off. But it looks like it'll get some more blooms. And I put up this netting to try to keep the deer away from the black-eyed Susans because they love to eat them. And down here, following along the wall, I have some of the pink Veronica, which I love to dry. They make lovely dried flowers. Okay, let's go across the driveway to my big iron pot back here. And this is my red, white, and blue patriotic pot of white petunias, red petunias, and blue lobelia. In my little truck with the flag from the Dollar Tree. And as you noticed, I put a little net here, although I don't know if that's going to work or not. But the flowers were smaller. I wanted to give them a chance to grow. I don't know if the deer are going to come by and munch on this or not. And this is a gargoyle with broken wings. Mr. Possum was out on his motorcycle and somebody was throwing this out. This is real concrete. You could see the rocks there. And so he strapped it to the back of his motorcycle and he rescued it and he brought it home to me. And my gosh, this was years and years ago. And we still have it. And behind that we planted a dogwood tree, which is really filling up this corner quite nicely. Mr. Possum puts out all kinds of things on the stones. This is our yellow rose bush. Some pretty yellow roses. On this side, this is a very wet area, so we planted a curly willow, which makes interesting branches. You can see there. People use these in arrangements. I haven't trimmed it much yet. And there's another dogwood down here. These are native dogwoods, and we planted natives because they get these berries that the birds love to eat. And as you can see, this is my side yard. Ferns, ferns, ferns. And we planted some native mountain laurels and some rhododendrons because this soil here is very acidy. There's one of the shrubs that we planted. This one still has the net on it from winter time. I should take that off so I can let that grow. Back there is just a jumble pile of stumps that the contractor had pulled out when they put up the house. We bought the house after it was built because I never would have let him leave that there. It's a mess. But I planted some forsythia bushes back there. They have the pink ties on them. And here's the rhododendron, which the deer eat and eat and eat. So no flowers. And here's another one. We did have nets around these, but I don't know why they didn't get any flowers. And one back there. And this is Mr. Possum's shed. Sunflower yellow. Coming up the side here. This is the area where the septic system drains on the other side of these large boulders here. There's a shed. Mr. Possum built that cupola up there and put a solar powered light in there. It comes on at night by itself. I have 2 scarecrows way down there, and I need to move them up here because that used to be where I had my pumpkins, but I moved my pumpkins to this patch over here. And this is some jewel weed that I planted here. I dug these up from down the road and I brought them here because I love jewel weed. And there's one over there. And I think there's some more over here. That's not where I planted them. I actually planted them up here. But you know, those flower fairies come and they move everything around. And here are my 6 lavender plants that I pulling up a weed. Put in the ground and mulched around. And these are my pumpkin plants. They haven't grown very much. And those are my Shasta daisies over there. And there's some more pumpkins. And some more pumpkins and some more pumpkins and some blanket flower down there. So this needs to be weeded out because I see some weeds there. So Mr. Possum wanted to plant sunflowers back here, but I said there's no way I can plant that whole thing way down to there with sunflowers, besides which the animals will eat them. I've got this little bit of a net here trying to keep the rabbits out. I use what I can find, so I get sticks and I put this netting on there and try to protect the plants as best I could. But those are my pumpkins. Down here we have this tri-colored yucca. And they're just babies. I think Mr. Possum bought, I don't know, it was like 1 or 2 of these and divided them up. So you can see when they get big, they'll be very pretty with pink, white, and green. Look at the colors on that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them out of those 2 pots, I think. And they're doing okay. I don't think they're going to bloom this year. I don't see any spikes. They usually bloom around the 4th of July, so I doubt these are going to bloom this year. This is a native tree called the viburnum, and it also gets berries that the birds like to eat. Planting for the birds and the butterflies. Mr. Possum put this little tree here. I don't know why. It's probably going to get too big to be next to the house. He's going to have to keep it trimmed. We got some grass. He trimmed it back a little bit. It's coming back. And we got some shrubs here. Do I remember what this was? I don't know. We planted so many azaleas and rhododendrons, and tag is worn off already. Mountain laurels and things like that. And here's another one. And some more grass. And we're getting to the backyard. And got a little fire pit here. And you can see it's very dark. Lots of trees and all ferns covering the ground, and some sweet spire or summer sweet shrubs in there. Lots of trees down. Some more bushes. That might be a mountain laurel. And oh, this has grown pretty good this year. This is a witch hazel tree, which is native. We planted it. As you can see, I like to go from lawn and then has some shrubs and flowers, and then there's ferns there, and then the shrubs are back there, and then you got the trees. So it gives lots of habitat to the animals and the birds. So you have the open habitat, which is the lawn. And then you have this transitional area. And then back there you have the woods. And the area between the woods and the lawn is called the ecotone. And the animals like that. Lots of things blooming. Those are all the blackberries down there that are blooming. And I don't know what this is. They look like blueberries. Look like little blueberry bushes, but the blueberries bloomed way earlier. So I don't know why they're blooming now. They're confused. You can see piles of sticks. We had like 10 dead trees. They just dropped them. But the little piles of sticks make for habitats for the songbirds. They love them. We've got, I'll walk this way. This was the lilac bush that really hasn't grown much. It's gotten a little taller this year, but not much. I had to walk up to it, measure it. There's my great horned owl sitting on a rock. Back here we have the winterberry hollies. And this is Mrs. Holly. She's the one that has the berries. And this is Mr. Holly. He's the one who provides the pollen. And mountain laurel over here. Walk across the lawn to my nasturtiums. I don't have too many things blooming, but the nasturtiums are blooming. And this is just a big rock that so big they couldn't dig out of the yard. And so Mr. Possum surrounded it with more rocks, and I put some nasturtiums in there. And I got a little net here, try to keep the rabbits out. And you can see some of the rocks are painted white, so he doesn't hit them with the lawnmower. The clearing is back through there. But I'm not going to go back there today because I don't have boots on. And here's my royal ferns. I love my royal ferns. And back here we just have some shrubs, some rhododendrons. You can see all the ferns back there. Ferns and ferns and ferns. And these are brackens. These are big bracken ferns. And most of all these are hay-scented ferns, and those big ones back there are cinnamon ferns, all back there. So we've got the hay-scented, and then the cinnamon, and the interrupted, and the bracken, and the royal over there. And the sensitive are back in the wet area. Go behind the shed. I should go in front of it, huh? There's a lilac bush over here, but it didn't bloom. Next to the nasturtiums. Little shrub Mr. Possum put next to his other shed. Another shrub back here, more ferns. More dead trees back there that had to come down. This is my pussy willow. We planted this. More ferns. Oh, the little house wren is hopping around back there. He's always hopping everywhere, sings all the time. And this is my false indigo. gets beautiful lupine-like flowers on it, and then it gets these really cool big seed pods. And I do have some, oh, there goes the frog. It was a pickerel frog. He was out here yesterday. So I have my daylilies and some columbine back in here too. Most of them are done though. Another pussy willow here. Those are native to this area. And I found one of these horsetail plants over by the rocks. So I picked it up and put it in the pot so Mr. Possum wouldn't run it over. Got some little Leos. They're done blooming. Another bird bath. There's my frog doing yoga. This is my rain garden. This is a low spot. So when it rains, the water washes down into this gravel area. And it's a foam flower I planted. It's a native. And there's a little tiny one starting to grow there. And some astilbes. And this one's going to get ready to bloom. They're native too. Oh, here's a different fern. This is a sensitive fern. And some really big ferns all around me, as you can see. And on this side, these are my jack-in-the-pulpits I planted here from down the street. And some horsetails I put in from back in the wet area. And I had some Monarda here, but it didn't come back. Poison ivy. This is a 9-bark bush. It gets pretty flowers. It gets like pale purple flowers with this dark red green leaves. It looks really pretty. It's almost done blooming though. You can see it had some flowers on it. And when it gets older, it's supposed to have some really interesting bark. Kind of splits into different colors. Got some hostas, some azaleas. There's one of my knockout rose bushes, and more azaleas and more hostas. And this is a Japanese beauty berry. It gets beautiful purple berries on it. That'll happen later. There's another little knockout and another hosta. And I'm going to go over here to Saint Fiacre, who is the patron saint of gardening. You can see he's got a spade and he's holding some flowers. And I believe he was an Irish monk, Saint Fiacre. And that's where they get the word acre, from fiacre. And this was the top to one of our fountains that broke, and so Mr. Possum just put some flowers in it. And this is our little picnic table area surrounded by hostas. And he transplanted some. He's trying to get the whole thing lined with the hostas. I got a marigold on the table. More ferns back there. Another bird bath. Lots of water for the birds. And over here I have a big pot with my rosemary. And this is a giant lavender that hasn't bloomed yet. It's gotten really big since I bought it. Got some sweet alyssum. Got a fuchsia. Got some dianthus that the deer have been eating. And the deer ate all the flowers off of that one. And oh my, look at there. That's a cardinal climber. I don't know how that got there. I didn't plant it. And these are some Shasta daisies that I sprouted from the other bush. And I trimmed back this knockout rose because it was getting too big. And here's the other knockout rose. And these are little roses that my son gave me for Mother's Day a few years ago. The little mini ones. I know I got netting here too. There they are. And it stayed in the house for about 1.5 years, and then it started looking kind of puny, so I put it outside. It does well. It survives the winter and everything. And dianthus, this plant was completely covered in these beautiful flowers, and the deer ate them all. The deer does not eat the lavender. This lavender is already blooming. Another dianthus, the deer ate all the flowers. And I think this is another veronica and a marigold, and the deer ate the marigold. And dianthus, the deer ate it. The little fence might keep the rabbits out, but it doesn't keep the deer from reaching over. And look at this, see, you know the deer have been here. Look at that. Those are snapdragons and hens and chicks and some more dianthus. And here's my little welcome farmer. Oops, get my finger out of the way. And this is my honeysuckle that the hummingbirds love. We have it growing up the lamppost. Mr. Possum's a retired firefighter, so we got the bell and we got the emblem, Fireman's Insurance Company. And usually we have flowers around the flagpole. There were some pretty daffodils. I put some zinnias, but they're still tiny, tiny. And some bachelor buttons, but the rabbits ate it because I didn't have a net around that. And you can see my hummingbird feeders from the Dollar Tree. And here's my garden fairy. And I have a butterfly bush that has not bloomed yet. And some more rhododendrons. Usually I have bird feeders out here in the winter time, but you have to bring them in. This is a miniature azalea down there. And this is a viburnum native plant. It gets berries. This is the side yard. You can see all the ferns. And we just planted this. We got this on sale at the Walmart. Was this one on sale? Yeah, this one was half price. And I need to trim back some of these leaves. It'll be fine. Oh, here's a pile of dead branches. Mr. Possum was trimming some stuff. Another azalea. Here's my little teepee. I was trying to grow some morning glories on it. And something is eating the morning glories. Even though I put netting around it. Might have been a slug or something. But there's one right there. There's one growing up there. There's a hydrangea we put in last year. Hasn't done much yet. This soil is really funny. Acid swamp soil. But the willow tree likes it. There's a big willow tree way back there. And one right here. And I'm surprised the deer haven't come over and eaten this yet. Bachelor buttons, zinnias, sunflower, hydrangea. Back to the road. Some more dogwoods. Again with the berries. The birds will eat them. This is another huge rock that they couldn't pull up out of the yard, so we made another garden here. And this is mostly zinnias. There might be a couple miniature sunflowers in there. Like that's a miniature sunflower. 2, 3, and these are all zinnias. And this jumble of rocks is quite the habitat. There's a blue-gray gnatcatcher, a little bird, hops around, and there's a fat chipmunk that lives here, and a ringneck snake and a garter snake. So far I've seen living on this wall. And we got this rose bush. This is another knockout rose, but we only paid $4.97 for this one. It was on clearance at Walmart. It wasn't doing good, but it's bouncing back. Bouncing back. Did I forget anything? We've just got, this is a new butterfly bush over here. We just got this one at Walmart. These are gone, but it'll get some new ones on there. Flies are out. And we put some petunias in pots here at the end of the driveway. They smell good. Got 3 of those hanging. And down by that white rock, there's some mountain pinks, but they bloom earlier in the spring. And there's another butterfly bush here that's not bloomed yet. Last year this one was pretty big. So we're waiting for that one to bloom. And then Mr. Possum put up this trellis over the walkway down to the shed. And this is my best doing morning glory right here. I put some in the pot. I tried this last year, but Mr. Possum whacked them all down with the weed whacker. So this year, hey, I put a bit of the top half of a plastic pot there and put them inside. So hopefully when he comes along with the weed whacker, he won't knock down the morning glories. There was a pretty flower here earlier. And on this side are my cardinal climbers. Took a long time for those to start growing. They haven't even reached the trellis yet. But it seems like things in this yard take longer. I don't know if this is a cooler spot or because we have less sun. And this is a little tiny weeping cherry. It did have cherries on it earlier, but the birds came and ate them all already. And there's one out there next to my little windmill. And I think this is the last thing. I am trying to grow some scarlet runner beans. I did put up a little bit of netting here because I had planted them here to grow up on this windmill, but the rabbits were eating them. So I'm trying again with the netting to see if that works. And this is the house wren house. Look at the nest they make. Look at all those twigs. He's not very happy with me. He's over there. So that's it. That concludes my tour of my mostly woods and ferns yard. I'm following the wren around, keeping an eye on me. Doesn't want me to go by the house. And the little bit of flowers that we do have blooming. It's on the tree now. There it goes. So thanks for coming along today. Much appreciated. And happy summer solstice. Happy first day of summer if you're in the northern hemisphere. And happy, what is it, the winter solstice? First day of winter in the southern hemisphere. Thanks for coming along today. Bye-bye.